5 basic tips for the beginners. Knowing who has the initiative in certain situations will help you greatly in your fights. Initiative means who has the advantage of starting a fight or whose turn swinging the next strike. Initiative usually consists of speed and reach of the weapon, but you should also consider timing, position, who landed the previous hit as well. Having a fast weapon as a beginner will help you to manage your timing and dealing with initiative things much easier. If you have a faster weapon than enemy, it means you have the initiative if both you and the enemy in the hit zone. But be careful about timing and type of the attack as well, since overheads and stabs can sometimes hit faster than slashes even with slower weapons. Last thing, you don't always have to respect the initiative in a fight. There are lots of cases which sometimes, even though you don't have the initiative, you can try to attack and confuse the enemy, especially if they're not anticipating your next move. Kicks into blocks, break the block and allows you or the opponent to land a hit. Kicks are pretty useful against new players and sometimes average players too, but works rarely against good players. When you got kicked though, most of the new players try to block with panic, even after they get hit first hit, and sometimes this causes them to get kicked even more repeatedly. When kicked, you have only one choice to avoid being hit. That is dashing either sideways or backwards. With a good timing and the opponent not attacking you with a slash, you can sometimes dodge the overhead or sometimes even a stab. But if you got hit after a kick, do not panic and don't immediately block. Instead, get close to the enemy and try to jab him. If the enemy is not an experienced player, he won't be able to block the jab. This way, you will have the initiative. Continuously holding your block consumes stamina, even if the enemy didn't strike you. New players sometimes hold the block too much, even while the enemies haven't started their strike. Try to block only when you see the attack is coming, unless you know the enemy will hit you with a very fast ripple. This will help you to conserve your stamina better and you won't easily get kicked since you're not holding your block without seeing the enemy swing. Remember, being too much defensive doesn't always mean you're safe. Jab is one of the most important mechanic in the game in 1 versus 1. Faster than any weapon, deals 10 damage, steals the initiative from the enemy, allowing you to land the next strike, unless you have a very slow weapon. As a beginner, make jabbing the enemies a habit, so they don't want go combo. But be careful when jabbing since it has a very small distance and you can easily miss the enemy. Also consider that experienced players knows about jabbing and they will jab you too, resulting in stalemate which restarts the initiative. Or the enemy blocks your jab, they have a narrow initiative period against you. And the worst, if the enemy knows about your jabbing and puts distance making you miss your jab, they could now land another hit, and this time for free. Countering means that you have both successfully matched the attack type and timing of the enemy's strike. Lots of new players usually cannot or do not counter since it needs lots of time and practice. But successful countering means that you have countered the last strike which the enemy was throwing at you. The enemy simply swing a single slash, or they can slash and feint in the overhead, or they can even do triple feint. The only thing that matters is that you have countered the last strike which was coming onto you. So, if your enemy is feinting a lot, you don't have to follow his feint from the start, but only counter the second strike. This will both allow you to counter and adjust your counter timing much easier, especially against heavy feints, since they require almost perfect timing at countering. Last thing, be aware of the single exile strike. which is the counter strategy of what I have just mentioned. With fast, simple axles can make your stamina drain if you sit and wait for the fainting, and then you may have to follow every attack of the enemy from the start, which will make you vulnerable against heavy feint attacks. Thank you for watching this far. If you like this kind of videos and want to see more, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. See you on the next video.